Good morning and welcome to the Library Facilities Financing Authority Joint Powers Board meeting of Thursday, December 17th, 2015. Happy holidays to all of you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Director Endel.
Here.
Director Bernal.
Here.
Director Goldstein.
Here.
Director Moriello.
Here. We have an agenda in front of us that includes a number of necessary actions related to the establishment of the Community Facilities District. Are there other items that the board would like to consider, or does the agenda look acceptable as presented? Okay, so affirmative nods. We'll move on to oral communications. This is a time where anyone can address us for a period of up to 3 minutes for things that are within our jurisdiction but not on today's agenda. Of course, Bruce.
Thank you. I'm Bruce Holloway from Boulder Creek. This looks like one of those events where there are souvenir pens that maybe would get handed to the staff members.
Not quite.
I expect, I don't know how you're going to do this, but I expect that going forward, this board will meet coincidentally with the governing board of the library going forward. And I think you need a lawyer. And I think it should be anyone but ABC Law. I think ABC Law ultimately did not do a good job representing any of the parties that they purport to represent. I've only been to one meeting of the Regional 911 governing board, and I did see the county council there. Little LAFCO, which only has a budget of less than $500,000 a year, has an assistant county council that attends every meeting, I believe. They meet almost monthly. So I think it would be a good thing to find a lawyer and have a lawyer that can come to every one of your meetings just to make sure the meetings run smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other oral communications? Okay. The first item on today's agenda is the Executive Director's Report. And Nicole Colburn is sitting in for Marcus Pimentel this morning. So, Nicole.
Okay, so on pages 2 and 3 of the packet is the updated timeline. We added the LFFA's meetings going forward, and I just wanted to highlight a couple things. So in January, following the actions today, the LFFA will come back to receive an update on everything that's occurred in terms of recording the boundary map and issuing the notices. We have the LFFA considering signers for ballot arguments in January, and then at the library JPA meeting, the first one of the new governing board, we're going to be bringing back the fact sheet that TBWB has developed and talk about a distribution plan for getting that out into various areas around the county. On the timeline, there's also a placeholder for conducting a final poll. TBWB thinks we should probably poll one more time with the ballot language, and so I put that in there. And then in February, we're going to be having the public hearing following today's actions to form the CFD, and then the library JPA will also be considering an informational mailer and a distribution plan for that. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, any questions for members of the board? Jamie?
I've heard talk that maybe that first meeting in January of the new JPA board could potentially be a joint meeting with the old. I mean, I guess the old board wouldn't really be a joint meeting, but sort of a passing of the baton. Has there been any plans to do something like that?
No, but we can do that. I'm waiting for some direction to see if that's what you would like to do.
Yes, we talked about it very briefly yesterday, and I think all of us feel like we'd like to acknowledge all the members of the library board, especially the citizen members that have donated so much of their time. So maybe that would be a good way to...
I'll work on that today.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out what the appropriate thing to do is, but I think that would be terrific. And I'm not sure all of them would be able to come, but it would be fine.
Yeah.
Other questions? Questions from the audience on the director's report? Seeing none, I don't think we need an action on that, so we can move to the consent agenda. The consent agenda would be to approve the minutes. Are there any comments on the minutes, concerns, questions? Any members of the public wishing to comment on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll take a motion on the minutes. Motion to approve, Director Bernal, seconded by Director Goldstein. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next are the various staff reports. The first one is to adopt the goals and policies relating to the LFFA's Community Facilities District. This is on page 7 of our agenda materials, and I think, Nicole, you were going to tell us about this required document.
So item 6A has to do with adopting a resolution establishing goals and policies for the Community Facilities District. This is a requirement of the state that we have to do this. Not all of what's required is applicable to us because our CFD is limited to library facilities. But our financial advisor and Jones Hall have worked on the policies themselves and the resolution and have put forth what they think are the criteria that we need to comment on and adopt today.
Okay, and I know that the staff has had the opportunity to go through these in detail, and those of us who are on the board received them fairly recently. So my hope would be that we could allow the staff to make minor editorial adjustments if, if the lawyers or anyone else requires a few little tweaks here and there with the attachment, which is this local goals and policy statement document. It certainly looks like it covers everything, and I'm sure it meets all the legal requirements, but I'd like to be able to give them that flexibility if that's acceptable to the board. Are there any other comments on this item? Comments from the public on the goals document? Again, this is a required document. It is the adoption of a resolution that would be part of the necessary steps for the formation of the CFO.
I do want to point out, we had to correct the resolution that's in the packet. It said chairman of the board, so I've circulated some replacement pages. We've changed that to board chair.
Okay. All right, thank you. See, there you go. One change already.
So I do have a question. So
Yes.
it looks like there's sort of a coverage ratio of 110 coverage ratio. Is that something that was prescribed or recommended by bond counsel?
I think it was recommended by our financial advisor.
To get the best sort of rate we possibly could?
Yes.
Okay, I was curious where that came from exactly. And I do think approving it in sort of substantially the same form, so if there are minor edits,
I think we can make edits going forward. It's just we have to adopt the resolution now to actually form the CFD, but I
Right.
think in the future we can make modifications.
Great.
Okay, so anyone else? Anyone from the public wishing to comment? Okay, so seeing no one, the recommendation is to approve the resolution as presented with the attached material that have been provided by bond counsel and our financial advisor and staff. And if that's acceptable, we'll have a motion to that effect with the understanding that they would have the authority to make minor editorial adjustments if necessary.
So moved.
So we have a motion by Director Goldstein, seconded by Director Bernal. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That motion carries unanimously. Yay! Okay, and the next item is item B on the staff reports. It's direction for the LFFA to adopt a resolution declaring our intention to establish a community facilities district and to incur bonded indebtedness in the CFD, and to set February 4th, 2016 for the date for a public hearing on the formation of the CFD, the proceedings to form the CFD, which is on page 15 of our agenda materials. So Nicole.
So item 6B, so as you know, this board created an ad hoc subcommittee to review alternative rate and method of apportionment models. So that committee met and came up with a more simplified flat rate structure On page 16 of the packet, you will see the rate structure. Essentially, for the single-family residential, this category is unchanged, but the EDU factor remains at 1 at a $49.50 tax rate. On the multifamily parcels, we got rid of the different tiering, and now all the EDUs are at 1 with also a $49.50 tax rate per unit. For commercial and residential, with the ad hoc committee recommended an $86 tax rate with an EDU factor of 1. And on agriculture, it is also a $86 tax rate with an EDU factor of 1. And you can see the breakdowns in the various categories. Agriculture and commercial only comprise about 7% of the total. The far majority is in single family and multifamily. So what we are asking is for you to direction to finalize the rate and method of apportionment, to adopt the resolution of intention to form the Community Facilities District, and to adopt the resolution of necessity to incur bonded indebtedness and set a public hearing. And that public hearing would take place on February 4th, 2016 at the downtown branch here in this room.
Okay, thank you. And the members of the committee that worked on this were myself and Jamie and Marcus and you and
Our
Carlos was
financial
there, our
advisor.
financial advisor.
And Jones,
And-
MBS.
And our representative from NBS. And again, we were trying to juggle a lot of competing considerations, so there was gives and takes all around, and I appreciate everybody working together to try to meet all of the competing considerations, because one of the big ones that Jamie was a very eloquent speaker to was this whole notion of trying to keep the rate under that, $50 threshold, and in order to do that, we had to make certain adjustments elsewhere. And we were concerned about the county was concerned about the commercial and the agricultural rates, and moving to the flat rate sort of took a lot of the risk associated with it out, so that, you're not going to have kind of, unsuspecting rate bills going out that, you live to regret. So I think this is going to work out much better, and I appreciate everybody's input. I think our financial advisor did a really amazing job. She had the greatest spreadsheet to sort of figure out what all of these were, and the representatives from NBS were very, very cooperative. They had looked at a lot of models with a lot of different structures, and they were very flexible in their approach. So I appreciate all their help. Is there anyone else who'd like to comment or ask questions about the rate structure?
So do we know what this $4,150,000, I mean, with the current interest rates, what would that?
Yeah, that's going to generate the $62 million.
It will.
That was the other goal, of course, was to reach the number that was the figure that we all had agreed to was what was necessary to address all of the programmatic needs that we had. So this will accomplish that. And anything that is generated above that we'll come back together as a board and handle the allocation, because I know there was interest in trying to, consider what to do with those resources now, and we just figured let's get past this one and then we'll get to that one.
I'd like to echo Susan's comments. I think that there was a lot of good work that was done on this. I know we sort of went down a different path for a long time, but I think this resolution is positive. Being under $50, I think is where we need to be. I also think that there's a real value in the simplicity of the model that we came out with in terms of explaining it to the community, explaining it to voters. I think it's much easier to understand than some of the other earlier models we were looking at. So I'd like to commend everybody for the hard work and their give and take, and I think we've ended up in a place that puts us in the best possible position to get something done.
Right. And I know there was some discussion with the commercial users that smaller users and bigger users would have the same rate structure, and I always reminded them that, it had to be an appropriate rate structure for the smallest business users, and we think we have found one that we think is appropriate, and those larger businesses will still be asking them for donations and contributions to the library system, because, again, we all have to come together as a community to support the libraries if we want the rich and robust library system that's in our dreams. Okay, any comments from the audience on this item, which includes the rate and method of apportionment materials? Yes, Mr. Holloway.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the compromises that were made. One thing that occurs to me is that our county is a little bit different than other counties because some of the largest employers are public and wouldn't pay any tax anyway. I was interested in the size of the bond, that it's not the full $62 million. That
No, it is 62 million.
I thought it was said 47 to 52 or something like that.
No, it's 62 million net.
Oh, okay.
67, or 67.
So what am I thinking of about the that I saw in the packet about the 47 or 52 or something like that? It sounded like the bond would be slightly smaller, and then the rest of the 62 million
Oh, I
would
know.
come in the
he
next
probably
6.
talking
I
about
know
the
what you're talking
phasing.
about. Yeah, so we're not issuing bonds, so we're only going to be issuing $47 to $52 million in bonds. The rest of the money generated to fund the improvements will be through the net special tax. So we're going to have pay-as-you-go money for about 18 months until we issue bonds. We'll issue the bonds, and then we'll have the full 62.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and again, just to kind of go over that, the way it works, we don't want to borrow money that we're not going to use and have it just sitting around collecting interest costs that we have to pay. So we will accept the pay-go amounts, which is the amount that is collected from the various taxes, use that to do all of the preliminary work that's required, get your designs up and such. And then as we bond for it, we'll be able to use those resources to begin to execute the projects. And the bonding schedule does go out over a number of years based on what we thought was the likely scenario for the construction schedule. So you're going to have for example, Felton is pretty much ready to go, so we'll be able to move on that one relatively quickly. Capitola probably will be, ready to go after Felton, and, the downtown will take a little longer because it's a very big project and it's going to require a lot of front-end work in terms of design and experts. So again, the way the bonds are structured, the money will come in as we are ready to spend it on the improvements that we're envisioning. So, yeah. Again, all part of that making it all work, scheduling it out that way helped us with the overall financing of it all. Okay, any other questions? Excellent question, that one was. Okay, so with those questions addressed, the direction is to approve the resolution of intention and to adopt the resolution of necessity and to take the actions that are outlined in the staff report. And if that's acceptable, I'd like a motion to that effect.
Move to.
Okay, so Director Bernal moves the staff recommendation as presented
I'll second that.
and seconded by Director Goldstein. Any further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. That motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, everyone. This is great. Okay, so that covers item 6.6B. The next one is written communication. I don't think there is any written communication. There is a meeting calendar, a 2016 proposed meeting calendar. I don't know if everybody's had an opportunity to mark all those dates in on their calendar, but this would be the time to let us know if you have any concern with the calendar. It's on page 34 of our packet.
It should be the last page, and we're recommending to continue with the Thursdays at 9 a.m. It seems to work best for all of your schedules. And we've selected the first Thursday of each month. The July meeting can be optional depending on if there are any required actions that have to be taken.
I will note that we're actually dark in the beginning of August there. So,
Maybe we could just move the August meeting back a little bit?
yeah, if we move the August meeting back, that'd be fine for me, but that's our dark.
Is 1 week enough, or 2 weeks? What do you need?
2 weeks would be best.
2 weeks.
Okay.
So we'll have that the third week of August then. And the July meeting will be noted as optional. The county's dark in July. And the city of Santa Cruz dark.
We will need to consider a resolution declaring the election results at that August meeting, so let me confirm and make sure that'll be okay, because we want to make sure that if the measure passes, that we get it on the roll. So there are deadlines for doing that. So if it's okay with you, I'll just make sure
Come
that
back.
that's
Yeah,
gonna.
let's take a look at that, because it looks like, we're dark until the 25th of August, so, it may be better to actually do it earlier, but
We could do it earlier in July.
yeah, that
Maybe
might be,
last
week of
the
July.
last week of July might.
Okay, well, why don't we just continue the schedule until the next meeting? Let us look at those dates. But we will note that the January meeting is acceptable on the date that's been proposed, which is January, what, Nicole?
January 14th, and that will be your meeting followed by the first meeting of the Library Joint Powers Authority Board.
Okay.
Previously, the financing authority would meet before the joint powers board, and so not knowing exactly what you wanted to do, we approached it that way.
Yeah, that looks good.
Also, it's also possible if you want to rotate locations of the meetings. I don't know what you would like to do, but I can give you whatever information you need if you want to consider that.
And will the LFA be meeting in this time period?
So the LFFA will meet first because we have public hearing requirements. Oh, you mean the
No,
library
okay.
finding?
Yeah.
So their meetings, it's a separate board. They're going to be meeting separately.
Okay.
But they could follow each other.
We could combine them onto the same days, but that might be easier since it's the elected board to just leave their meetings
Right,
the
we
way
didn't
they
change
are.
the makeup of that one, right?
Yeah.
So it just,
Okay. So we will receive the meeting calendar. Staff will look at that summer schedule a little bit more closely. We'll consider alternate schedules and locations if people want to volunteer their council chambers or other meeting rooms. They could let Janice know, and we'll make note of those in the schedule and revisit it again when we meet next. Okay, any comments from the audience on the meeting schedule or locations or anything like that? No. Okay, so I don't think we'll take an action on that. We'll just note that in the minutes. And with that, we will be adjourned. Thank you all for coming, and have a great, happy holiday. Yes, there it is.
Charles has got a renegotiated.
Yeah, Carlos has been talking to the library director. I don't know how much we've talked to Charles about it, but we could. The library director is ready for it.
library board.
Is he the secretary?
Need a motion. No, I think.